Okay, guys, welcome back to the fifth key knowledge dot point of Unit 1, Outcome 1. Today, we are looking at the importance of goal setting and decision making. So, as always, here is our snapshot of the current study design, Unit 1, Outcome 1 in this case. And there is where the key knowledge dot point that we are looking at in this video sits and exactly how it is worded in the study design. Okay. So the importance, we'll take that back. Goal setting and decision making. The way that's worded are two separate things. So we're going to look at those independently. So first off, we're going to look at goal setting. Okay. So what's the importance of goal setting? Okay. Well, basically, if we have a goal, we know where we're going. Okay, we have some direction. Or I guess maybe to put it another way, if we do not have a goal, how do we know where we're going? How are we going to ever achieve anything if we do not know where we're supposed to be heading? We have no direction. So basically our goals set the direction for our business. Okay, they set the direction. They determine all of our strategies and our actions. Everything that we do within the business is determined because of the goals that we're trying to achieve. Okay, so if you don't know what your goal is, how are you ever going to get anywhere? Fundamentally, is what we're saying. What sort of goals are we talking about? Okay, just to put this into some perspective. Now, there is a similar key knowledge dot point in year 12 at the beginning of Unit 3, Outcome 1. And actually, the study design actually identifies specific goals that a business might be trying to achieve. Here, the study design did not. It just kind of left us hanging. So the sort of things, we can split them into different categories, okay? So financial goals, to make a profit, I would argue, is probably the number one most common goal, in the business world, okay? Pretty much all businesses are seeking to make a profit. There might be other goals as well, but that's probably one of the primary objectives or goals. Use the word goals, not objectives, for a business. To increase sales is a pretty common goal for a business. We're selling this much, we want to be selling this much because we'll make more money. To increase market share. So in other words, that's all about stealing customers from your competitors. So if we could measure the entire market for a certain product or service, you want as much of that market to yourself as possible. And the only way to do that is by stealing customers from your competitors or restricting the number of customers that your competitors steal from you, ideally both. To expand the business, to grow the business. So for example, Boost Juice. I think Boost Juice we've mentioned. Janine Alice, she opened one store. Then within a couple of years, she had a couple, then 12, and then 50. And now I don't know how many stores. There's lots of stores in multiple countries. But that was a key goal for her to achieve. Once the first one or two got up running, it's like right on to something here. So one of the key goals was to expand this business. First off, within Australia, but then overseas. Maximizing return to investors. So when those investors are people that invest money in a business, they want to see that money grow. That's a key goal for that group of people. Businesses might also have social goals. Okay, so providing a community service, sponsorship of community events is why they can do that. Providing employment in the community, particularly a big business in a country town, that source of employment they provide might be absolutely key to the overall employment in that country town. To operate in a sustainable manner. Okay, environmentally friendly, that kind of idea, not impacting the environment in any kind of a negative way. If you're using resources from the ground, replacing those resources, replenishing them, all of that sort of stuff. And social justice, okay, might be a goal. So, for example, you might have the social goal of improving the lives of homeless people in Melbourne. So what you're doing is leveling the playing field a little between homeless people and people who are not homeless. So you get the idea that, the only goals behind a business is not always just about making money, but there can be these social goals that sit there as well. And personal goals, okay? So this goes back to those motivations we looked at in Key Knowledge 2. So people might be looking to achieve a certain level of wealth, for operating their business, achieving financial independence, achieving personal freedom, the idea of not having to work for someone else, doing your own thing, being your own boss, that sort of idea, fulfilling market or social needs. All of those personal goals might also be kind of prevalent and key underlying goals in what the business is kind of there to exist for and trying to achieve. Something I'm just going to mention here, SMART goals. Okay, so goals should always fit the SMART framework. So goals must be specific, they must be measurable, they must be attainable, they must be realistic, and they must be time bound. So when you set in place a goal, you can actually look at that goal in the context of that framework. And if it doesn't meet all of those 5 requirements, if you like, it's not a SMART goal. And you need to have a look at that goal and tweak it so that it becomes SMART. SMART goals is something that I'm not sure if your cohort has done. It's something that a few years ago we used to do as part of the process. There was a meeting instead of parent-teacher interviews in the middle of the year. There was where you met a teacher and you looked at some goal setting, moving from semester 1 into semester 2, and the idea was that the goals that you were setting for yourself were SMART. I'm not sure if that dropped off, or maybe because of COVID kind of interrupt that for the last few years. But anyway, SMART goals is something we'll look at in a bit more detail, and also we look at that in year 12 in a little detail as well. So make sure your goals are SMART. Now, just some terminology, some definitions here. And I actually made the mistake myself a few minutes ago when I said goals or objectives, because in a business sense, like in normal language, goals and objectives can kind of mean the same thing, something you're trying to achieve, but we do separate them out for the purposes of this course. Okay, so when we're talking about our business goals, these are the statements that we set out where the business is trying to get to, where the business sees itself in the future. Okay, they represent the aspirations of the business. Okay, they don't say anything about how they're going to be achieved. That's what happens with objectives, but they just basically say this is where the business wants to be. This is where we're headed. Okay, then business objectives we define as the steps that the business is going to take to achieve those goals. Okay, now it could be many multiple objectives. It could be a years long process to achieve that, and these are going to vary because some goals might be set for a 1 month time frame. Some might be a year, some might be 5 years or even longer. So those objectives are going to change obviously in their nature according to what type of goal you're trying to achieve. But for the purposes of this course, just note that also, despite in normal use of English language, you might use the word goal and objectives kind of interchangeably. For business, we keep them separate. Okay, the goal is the starting point, and the objectives then follow. They feed into the goal. Just an important distinction to make. Okay, just a couple of examples just to demonstrate how that kind of works. Okay, so if the goal of the business is to become the #1 provider of kids wear in Australia, so one of the objectives to achieving that goal would be to increase sales by 10% each year over the next 4 years to finally achieve that 40% market share within 5 years. Okay, something like that. Okay, so you can see you've got the overall goal, and then that's an objective that will feed into that to help you achieve it. Or if your goal is to achieve 100% customer satisfaction, and I would imagine that that's probably a goal for pretty much every business out there, one of the objectives that could feed into that would be to reduce customer complaints by 50% per month over the next year, and to achieve a 90% positive rating by the end of the year. So again, you can see overall goal, this is where we're headed. This is one of the ways in which we are going to get there. Okay. Last bit here, decision making. So we talked to the study design key knowledge dot point said the importance of goal setting and decision making. So we've looked at the goal setting, why that's important, giving us direction, giving us somewhere to aim for. Now, the importance of decision making. So the first thing we're going to do is define decision making. Okay, there's a pretty good definition of decision making. Simply the ability to choose the best course of action from the range of alternatives that are available to you. So if you think about decision making, And that's probably not a definition which you would have just come up with had I asked you. But if you think about when you're making a decision, what you're doing, that's exactly what you're doing. Okay, you're going, okay, I've got option A, option B, option C, option D, and you're kind of working in your head which is the right way to go. You're actually choosing the best course of action from your range of alternatives. That actually does explain decision making to a T, even though that might not be the way you would have actually come up with a definition yourself. So that definition absolutely works. Now, why is it important? Look, when managers and owners are running a business, planning a business, anything to do with the business, they have to make so many decisions. Okay, right from the very first thoughts about planning the business, setting the business up, having the business concept in the first place, right through to planning, opening, operating, through the whole life of the business. Really, a business owner, a business manager, probably the most common thing they're doing is making decisions. Okay. So therefore it is an absolutely essential skill for a business owner or a business manager to have. And it's absolutely critical to the success of any business. Not to say that business owners and managers are going to get it right every time. Okay. Everybody makes the wrong mistakes. But if more often than not, faced with a choice of alternatives, that manager, that owner kind of, more often than not makes the right decision, there's more chance that the business is going to succeed in the long run. Okay, hopefully that kind of makes some sense. The kinds of decisions, look, there's millions of decisions, but the kinds of decisions, just to not even scratch the surface, but give you a couple of examples. What is the product or service that we're going to sell? How are we going to market this product? In other words, how are we going to let the world know that it exists? How many employees do we need? What type of employees do we need? Where are we going to get them from? Which suppliers are we going to use? Where are we going to base ourselves? Where are we going to, if we need a factory, where are we going to operate the factory? If we need a shop, where are we going to put our shop? It's just endless questions that need to be answered, decisions that need to be made. Okay, so that just goes on and on and on, right from beginning of thinking about the business, right through the entire life of the business. That's all there is to it. A really, really quick and simple one, guys. I will see you in the next video for Key Knowledge 6. Cheers for now.